guys, this is Hawkeye and I am back with another episode of Ice Lakes, and this time I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to do something more on the approach of what I do on my Fishing Planet videos, and that is basically focus more on individual species and how to fish for them here. Now, the one I wanted to start with was by request of one of my viewers, and that is the Brook Trout. And I'm going to basically pick one of the fishing lakes here that happens to have the brook trout, and we're going to give it a try to see just how it is you have to fish for them. That way, if you're happening to do doing a tournament, you can have success at catching them. Some of these tournaments are all trout, so in certain instances the brook trout might be the only one that's in that particular lake. So let's go ahead, let me show you what I have as far as gear here. Now we don't you can use the Mormishka, but for these guys I do prefer the balanced lures, and my favorite two to use is the Green Goblin, which as you can see is good for brook trout. It's good for pike and other things too, but that is what it's best for. And then the Dotsy, which is only says best for brook trout. Now we'll try both of them, see how well they do, and I haven't got any spoons yet that work well with that, but I believe this one might do. No, works good for salmon. We'll try some of those later. Anyway, as far as other equipment goes, I think it's better to use this heavy standard one, because if you're just doing free fishing it doesn't really matter about speed, and it gives you more range of motion. You kind of need the range of motion to catch these guys. I wouldn't use the light standards, but a medium might be acceptable as well. So either one of these two, if you have one of them. I wish I had this heavy tungsten one. And as far as the rods, now you can use the ultralight, but I prefer the medium standard. The heavy classic is just too stiff. You can see them bite it, but it's just very difficult to do, so you're better off working with the medium standard. They don't get huge, so it's not an issue. Now as far as lures go, I tend to use this brown does, just a basic brown does, and for the hook I use the color stripes, and as you can see it's best for brook trout, brown trout, and chub. Oh, can't talk here. Anyway, let's go ahead and we'll pick a particular lake. I've not been to the North River too much, but as you can see it has a multitude of different species, and one of them happened to be the brook trout. We're going to see how well it does. I know it works. My techniques have worked well on fishing islands, which has brook trout, but this one I wanted to give it a try just to see how much my technique works there. Now for brook trout, they do bite most often in the morning, so that's really what you want is to go for is morning time, and we're just going to do free fishing so that the time doesn't matter. As far as the time of year, we're just going to go with winter, just because. No particular reason. Anyway, let's go ahead and start this. Alright, let me take a look at the map here. Now, since we have no time constraints, I can really take my time and look around on this. But if you look off to the east, it's important to know these guys, they like shallow water, usually at a point like where the high area juts out into deeper water. So I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about here in a minute. But there's a good spot right up to the north, kind of the northwest. Walking through somebody's yard. I can't get through there. That could be a real problem if I was trying to get something to happen. Alright. Now you can probably see where it is I'm headed right now. You see where that area jets right out into the lake? Right here. What we're going to do is we're going to get to a real shallow area here. This is where we're going to be. We're going to get right about here, and this is where we're going to start digging. Alright, it's there. Now, I've got my green goblin. That's what I'm going to start with, and I'm going to go probably to the Dotsy. Alright, we're going to switch lures here back to the brown does. Alright. Well, looks like we got us a brown trout. Let's come up a little bit more shallow. Brown trout like to be deeper, so that's a good sign as far as where the other guys are. Yeah, and you're gonna have to keep scooping. Well, there's an asp. Trust me guys, I know they're in here. Alright, I think I'm going to go ahead and move because it seems like asp are what's common around here. And that's fine. It looked like a good spot. Let me take another look at the map here. I tell you what, over here in this little inlet, there's another point that looks really good. Let's go over there. Don't know if you can see it, but it's right there where my tip of my arrow is. Well, if you can see my arrow. Again, we're going to go shallow, but I'm going to put this down just a little bit. Even though it looks pretty deep here, we're just off of the shallow area, and a lot of times bait fish will come out of the shallow area and they'll be waiting for them in this deeper area. So let's see if we can't get a little luck going here. Well, I'll tell you, it seems to be the brown trout is what I'm catching this time. Now, when I was at the other lake, this technique was pulling in one brook trout right after another. There we go. I knew they were there. Just had to reach the right depth, I guess. So they're right about that point for this lake. They're a little bit lower than they are for the fishing islands. Just to let you know. They also like to see that they seem to like this quick jigging too. Now we're cooking with gas. Apparently the asps like this one too, quite a bit. Alright guys, we're going to change up on this lure here. I'm going to go ahead and try the Dotsy this time. Because it's supposed to be primarily for brook trout. And we'll see if this does any better. This is getting interesting with these asps. I'll tell you what guys, let's move to a different lake. I'll show you at the fishing islands how this works. It seems to work a little bit better. We don't have the asps or the brook ones to deal with. Alright, let me go ahead and get out of this particular map. I'll be right back. Alright guys, we're here in the fishing islands now. And I'm going to take you to a couple of places that I did have some luck much earlier when I tried this out. So let's go ahead and check them out real quick, guys. Let me go to the main map here. Yeah, the main areas that I had found that I had a lot of luck at was over here off to the due west. And I'll show you when I get there what I'm talking about. But there's a couple good places, and you will see them as soon as we get there. Now, I don't know if you can see, but there's like a little point that sticks out right at the top of this island off to the west. And it's very shallow there. Now we're going to go right over top of it. That's where I've caught up quite a few of them. And then there's a little island due south. And right there is an excellent place to fish for these guys. Right about here is good. Alright, we got our Dotsy and we're ready to go here. Put in our lure. One scoop for good luck, and let's put it in. And let's start enticing the fish. Alright, these asps are starting to get on my nerves. Gonna go a little deeper. Xander. Trout a little more shallow than that. There we go, guys. They're just very shallow this time. I think you kind of have to play around with the depth a little bit until you finally get them. See, now that we found them, they're easy to catch. Alright, we're going to get one more for good measure here. No, actually I think what I'm going to do is move on to that other point just so you can see that. I catch them here, but since we know the depth is darn near close to the surface of this lake, then it should work everywhere. I want to go down to that little island because I want you to see how well it works there. So let's go head down there. It's not really an island, it's just a very shallow area under the water, as you will see. Now either right here or on the other end is very, very nice. Let's take a closer look at it. As you can see, there's that, looks almost like an island, but it's just a very shallow area in the middle of the lake. And at the tips of both ends, you're going to catch a lot of brook trout, guys. Alright, let's get this going. Just like before, just keep working it. See what I mean, guys? There you go. Brook trout. And once you find the right depth, and they are shallow though. Now remember, for brown trout, you can pretty much fish with almost the same thing. just go deeper, but also in shallow areas. Apparently the Asps do go for this quite well. And I think that proves my point. Alright guys, there you go, Brook Trout. I think we did quite well, and this pretty much works for any of the lakes that have the Brook Trout. Just kind of get a feel for what the depth it needs to be, but they are shallow. You need to fish for them in the morning, and you need to fish to them at these points of shallow areas where it starts to go into a deep area. As you can see in this map. Now if you look at where I'm located, as you can see just right below the arrow, you can see that little point. Any place like that where it jets out in the water, that's a good location, guys, and nice and shallow. Alright guys, thanks very much for watching this episode, and please be sure to share, comment, like, subscribe, and I will be back with another episode of Ice Lakes. So until then, I will see you later. Bye bye.